10 years since the day humanity lost all hope. Hello guys, my name is Ben and I talk about anime. Yes guys, I know my English is bad, but I hope you understand me. Well, subscribe to my channel and enjoy watching this video. Let's go. 10 years since time started flowing differently for those who survived the nightmare. 10 years since the real outbreak, no Elo's Christmas. The series begins in the year 2039, 10 years after a large-scale viral outbreak took Japan by storm. To contain the virus and restore the order that ensued. After all this chaos, the unit sent a military force called GQ to his country. Amidst all these unusual circumstances, a young boy named Chuma lives there. He is cute and talented young man and has a rather strange obsession with ignoring an internet singer for a bank known as Egoist. On his way to his warehouse studio, where he lies around most of the time, he surprisingly encounters an injured Nori, who is trying to hide and recover a bit of her health there. She got her wounds as she was trying to steal the Void Genome, a genetic weapon from the GQ. She succeeded in the mission, but now has people telling her. And speaking of purchasers, they arrive just in time to capture her for stealing the genome from them. Nori has kept the vial that contains the genome inside his pet funnel, so capturing the Nori really doesn't solve the problems of the GQ, and she doesn't even have the genome on her show. Trying to fulfill the one promise he made while Simple starts looking for her boss, the leader of the resistance group against the GQ called the Undertakers or Funeral Parole. The man knows as Guy to Tsunami. Now that the leader of the Piercing Party, Major Gwyn, is angry at Snorri for not having the genome on her, he gives the order to kill everyone residents in Raponki, the town where all this action is happening, in order to find it. The Undertakers arrive and starts battling the GQ forces. Amidst all this, Shu does what every boy will do in that situation, try to rescue the girl. So with the genome in hand, he goes to rescue Nari as she helps against a giant humanoid robot coming her way. Shu gets in the way and amidst the chaos, the veil breaks apart and the genome comes out in the open. The genome gives you the power of the king, where he can pull voids out of people, basically weaponizing their souls. So in a very main character fashion, he takes out in Ori's void a big stylish sword in finishes of the humanoid robot by himself. As the song in the background, his height notes. The humanoid robots are referred to as Ant-Lives, and despite taking out the first one, it's still an all-out battle with multiple foes. So Shu and Nori are forced to fall back and regroup with the other members of the Funeral Parole. Once the enslaved Steiner arrives with the GQ, Second Lieutenant Darien Palantvit knows that they are all away from the action. GQ praises the efforts of Sagami and Issei, a hacker and an unclave pilot, from their side, while he starts lecturing Nori for being careless as a genome. Was never meant for Shu, it was meant for Guy. Still with how things stand, he tells you that he can just delete Ellie around anymore. Now that all that is behind them, they start focusing on the problem at hand, which in the fact the genome has taken innocent civilians hostage and plans to execute them. The good guys interrupt the party and lure Daryl away from Gwyn with a diversion while he faces Guy. Shu cuts through Daryl's captain and pulls out his void. He then heads towards Guy and protects him from the enemy. Far with it, she shield like void deflects the laser and annihilates Gwyn and the rest of his goons. After everything calms down, Guy offers to become a part of them, but he decides not to, despite witnessing what GQ is really doing. The next day, Nori transfers to the shooter's school, and that's when he realizes that it's not really over. You will know if you watch other anime. But now that Nori has transferred to his school, she also living in his house because, well, anime. On the other end, however, GQ Antibodies director Kaido hands Major Sachi the important task of tracking down the distribution but of Normagene, a genetic drug. Shu finds out that Nori has been sent to protect him, and they find from Chewie that Shu is in danger of getting exposed. He reveals that a student saved him in Raponki and goes by the nickname of Sugar, as he is drug dealer from the Normagene. Kai further reveals that he has the ability to see why can't avoid someone possesses, along with the fact that this is the reason he wanted the Void Genome for himself. So he tells them that he saves Sugar with a void shaped like shears. Not that they are clear on what to do. Shu starts pulling out the voices of his classmates to look for Sugar. Turns out Sugar is actually one of his friends. Yashara Shu beats him up as the situation resolves without anyone doing the void that they won't expose each other, but that turns out to be a lie as the guy comes to have a little chat with our our homeboy. The next day, Shu gets captured by him and goes for a little stroll in the GQ isolation facility for the asking questions, but he doesn't really give any hints about funeral parlor, since that Shu isn't really cute, thrilled about what we hears. Odesagi tells him that he had no choice, as his brother was a victim of the virus and is being treated at one of the JQ facilities. He then tells him that Guy is planning to rescue a mass martyr named Kenji and give him a transmitter so that when Guy comes and makes contact with him, he can signal them, assuming he agrees, of course. And guess what? Guy does come to him, but Shu doesn't give him the time of day. Suddenly the facility's alarm goes off thanks to Anori bursting in to rescue Shu herself. Despite being told to stay put, Shu once again rushes to save her, and Gus has to deal with Al. To clean up now, he encounters Kenji on the way and uses his gravity-based void to save the woman who was supposed to save him. Citizens Gus don't bring peace anywhere. The facility gets destroyed thanks to all the action, and the escape Shu is once again offered to become one of them, and this time he accepts, while still keeping the transmitters the guys gave him just in a case he decides to switch sides. So who arrives at are hungry for the headquarters for this little resistance group. Certainly a town full of memories for our boy. Guys tell him that he needs to pass a trail before Jonas. He's too busy and Shu is not important enough. Helias is safe in charge of him while he prepares for his next mission. As he takes away the transmitter, Pennant tells him that he needs to pass the trail to get it back. Shu then sees an Erwi go into the room with Dewey alone and gets quite heartbroken. Little did he know that he was actually receiving a blood transfusion. He then runs into Issei, who tells him to chin up and focus on the trail. The next day the trail begins and he tests it to get past Issei and into the vehicle behind her, Giant and Liv. He uses Agorus Void and manages to pull it up just right, thus passing the trial and getting his pen back. It's all fun and games, and tells of Jumi comes to inform everyone. The guys and his group have been hit with an orbital laser blast called the Lekote. Guys is the only one who survives the blast while his team is dead. He regroups with the other, and they all go to the outskirts of Suki, goddamn, where Guy bribes everyone that they need to attack it. As the control center of the leukocyte laser lies here, she opposes the plan and says that a lot of people will die executing the mission, while accusing Guy of not caring about them as a them. Saji and Kaido are ready to intercept any attack, but the funeral parole during another blood transfusion session with Zenori. Guy breaks his stuff. Guy faces and confides in her about feeling guilt over all the lives that have been lost. Two drops on the scenes. He can't really keep his attention away from Minori and realizes that Guy actually values the lives of his comrades. He then agrees to the mission, and so it begins. The other members distract the GQ, while a team composed of Guy ignoring Chu and Kenji infiltrates the control center. Using Kang's Void, Chu hacks the control system, but Daryl's interruption damages the control system. This causes Leukocyte want to go haywire and target Tokyo. Saji shows up at the scene, and that gives him an opportunity to negotiate with him. He makes a deal that he will use the transmitter to line up Leukocyte 1 and 3 and destroy the damaged one with the faction in 1, but will only do it in exchange for deleting all his data from the JQ server. Guy was aware that it was a transmitter, but still he pays no mind to it and starts lining up the satellites. However, the threat is drawing closer and closer, and Chu really wishes to save everyone. Seeing that, an aura fuses her own, what with Kanji is creating a destructive laser weapon. Using that, he destroys the satellites and saves the day. Guy then once again asks him to wholeheartedly join the gang, and this time he accepts it with no strings attached. Returning to the school after everything that has happened is not a walk in the park for our boy, but a few white lies from the student council president Arizaka Okahoma save him from facing anything serious. Yashiro is still missing though. That's a bit of concern when he goes back. His stepmother Haruka returns home and eases his worries a bit when she accepts Anori being there without a hitch. Meanwhile, Guy is thinking about establishing new supply lines for a funeral parole. Arisa happens to be the granddaughter of the head of the Korean group conglomerate and is traveling on a cruise ship with his grandfather so that he can make a deal with some international party outside Japan. Seeing this, guys decide to bombard the ship with missiles Guy to infiltrate it, and thanks to a recent avoid, the ship doesn't get hit by the missiles and everyone survives. Impressed by this display, and Resti's grandfather decides to fund funeral parlors, new supply route good. Guy makes a comment about Orisa and then leaves. The next day, while going to school, Shu tells a story that is the first time he is glad that he has these powers. Guy tells you can endure to take the members of the motion pictures research club in their school and go to a beach, researching Oshima for an undercover mission. Well, they will need sodas. While he's there, Shu pays a visit to his father's grave, who happened to fall prey to last Christmas, and was researching the apocalypse virus. In the first place, the undercover mission is to sneak into a GQ base, but for that they need soldiers with a camera that unlocks everything. Sotem is a handful through, as they need to use his feelings for Enori to drive his void out. So as he tries to confuse, Shu takes out his boys, and thus they are able to sneak into the base. By the item they are looking for has already gone missing. The item was stolen by Kaito, who used two fathers Karuso's card to enter the facility. The item is a canister which contains the meteor that caused the apocalypse virus outbreak. The next day Shu apologizes, says to Sato, and they both finally hit it off. Minorism tells him that people's voice can actually change. Yashiro finally comes back on the screen, and this time he has his brother Jun with him, who he just helped escape. He then proceeds to crash, choose rougher mundane life, just as he's about to confess it to, and begins him to save his brother and himself. He agrees, and now Hiro takes him to see Jan. Basagi tracks them and orders Darlil to attack them with his Aunt Leaf. Jun then pulls out Yora's void to fight, but now that Daryl is equipped with a weapon that targets boys, he is able to put up much of a fight. However, Ju comes to rescue and takes the attack, causing the virus to migrate into the Unquell and cause into malfunction. He then sees that his brother isn't really a saint and asks Shu to kill him, while he still likes his brother. Isn't really a saint and asks Shu to kill him, while he still likes his brother. Shu reluctantly carries it out, and the news devastates Yoshihiro when she wakes up later, finding out that his brother is no more. Ju gets traumatized by these events and starts becoming a liability. Guy then decides of telling him to not be involved with funeral parlor anymore. He gets more depressing and he goes home, realizing what a loser he is. He then uses Haris as Nora's replacement, but she slapped some scenes into him. Meanwhile, Major General Yan captures Kaido for stealing the meteorite and decides to transport over Reese's on Guy's side. They all get trapped by Sagi, and they try to hijack this transport helicopter, but it turns out to be unnamed. He then proceeds to beam a genetic resonance broadcast on top of Tokyo Tower and starts spreading the virus while being vaccinated himself. Thanks to this, everything starts falling apart. Friend and foe alike take an adventure of the chaos. Kado is saved by Rohan. Haruka also gets abducted by these heroes. Kado looks upon the chaos and using everywhere, declaring from the GQ that he will finish what he started 10 years ago. The virus continues its spread, while Darley kills his father, General Yon, while he finds out that he has been having an affair with his secretary. Kaido takes the GQ comment and announces the funeral parole causes the outbreak. She learns about this and finally gets his act together. He then gathers his friends and tells him about his power, and he asks for their assistance at the airport. Haruka also manages to escape the clutches of captivity thanks to the noble sacrifice of an American of JQ, Colon Eagleman, and meets up with an Orion guy. With Guy already being infected by the virus, Kaido and Sagi being the next phase on their plan, and they go to the hidden base inside the Roppongi fort. We then cut to Haruka as she manages to program a resonance broadcast, allowing Snorri to sing and reverse the effects of the outbreak. Chu also manages to defeat the GQ members by using the voices of his friends, and finally breaks the barricade at the airport. As he finally makes his way to Anjuri, he realizes he's not the only one. There is blonde dude named Yu teleports behind Nori, taking her voice out and stabs him with it, but Guy steps in and saves Chu from dying in order to stop singing, and the outbreak resumes again. Virus crystals gathers from all around Tokyo and from a crystal tower. What will Guy's fate? Will any of the protagonists survive? Who is this blonde young man? Many more questions to be answered in the next part of Guilty Crown. Thank you for watching this video. If you want next series, you need get 15 likes in this video. Well, you have been with you. See you later. Bye bye.